Hi, my name is Leanne Radley, and I am doing a presentation today on cultural safety and why it is important for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people in Australia. So we'll start off with some PowerPoint slides. So, cultural safety and why it's important to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Our agenda today, let's start off with our acknowledgement of country. So we'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land and pay our respects to the elders, both past, present and future, for they hold the memories, the traditions, the culture and hope of their people. Our agenda today is what is meant by cultural safety, identifying why it is important, ideas for strengthening cultural safety, culturally safe practices and where to find more information. So what is meant by cultural safety? Cultural safety is an Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander person feeling a sense of safety in their community. It's about being recognised and accepted and respected as an Aboriginal person in the services they are receiving and having a say in their health and well-being. Cultural safety means creating environments where people feel safe, where there's no challenge to their identity and where their needs can be met. It's clear that racism and discrimination can significantly impact upon an individual's health and well-being. Aboriginal Victorians tell us that a lack of cultural safety, racism and fear are the main barriers to accessing essential services. Culture is diverse and constantly changing. It's a shared system of belief, values learned and rules of conduct that influence the way people behave. Direct discrimination happens when a group of people or an individual are treated less favourable than another person or group because of their race, culture or ethnicity. Why is it important? Why is cultural safety important for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people? It's important so that they feel welcome and accepted, to feel that they have a voice and are listened to feel respected as an Aboriginal person. Cultural safety is about shared respect, shared meaning and shared knowledge. The experience of learning together with dignity and truly listening. Strategic and institutional reform to remove barriers to the optimal health, wellbeing and safety of Aboriginal people. This includes addressing unconscious bias, racism and discrimination, and supporting Aboriginal self-determination. Individuals, organisations and systems ensuring their cultural values do not negatively impact on Aboriginal peoples, including addressing the potential for unconscious bias, racism and discrimination. Individuals, organisations and systems ensuring self-determination for Aboriginal people. This includes sharing power, which is decision-making and governance, and resources with Aboriginal communities. It's especially relevant for the design, delivery and evaluation of services for Aboriginal people. Key elements of cultural safe workplaces and services is knowledge and respect for self, awareness of how one's own cultural values, knowledge, skills and attitudes are formed and affect others, including a responsibility to address their unconscious bias, racism and discrimination. Knowledge and respect for Aboriginal people, knowledge of the diversity of Aboriginal peoples, communities and cultures, and the skills and attitudes to work effectively with them. A commitment to redesigning organisations and systems to reduce racism and discrimination. Strategic and institutional reform to remove barriers to optimal health, wellbeing and safety outcomes for Aboriginal people. And so why is it important? Cultural safety is a fundamental human right. It's also a legislative requirement of public agencies to provide safety in the workplace. The workplace environment, services and settings for health, wellbeing and safety must be culturally safe for all people. For a fair and equitable society free from racism and discrimination, we must address the underlying causes of culturally unsafe practice. And it's everyone's responsibility. Everyone has a responsibility for the cultural safety of Aboriginal people in their organisation, and really it should just be in all walks of life. Everyone is responsible for how they work with Aboriginal staff, health consumers and clients of community services. The impacts of past government policies and practices. I think we all know the impacts that colonisation has had. It's had devastating effects on traditional life for Aboriginal people, and it's not only diminished Aboriginal people's connection to country and culture, but has lessened their research language and cultural knowledge, and so much has been lost through this. I think we can all acknowledge that Aboriginal people in Australia have a lot of trauma that has come from government policies and the impacts from that. And when you look back to what's happened with the Stolen Generation, which has had huge impact on the community, through to today, when there is still discussion and argument over Australia Day and what should happen, and these sort of things have impacted the people. And by sorry, I've had a moment. By us strengthening the cultural safety for them, it is bringing them back into an equal society that they need our support and understanding, and to feel culturally safe at all times. Ideas for strengthening cultural safety. Staff doing cultural awareness training, learning about the culture of the community of which they work and live, to be included, not excluded or judged or discriminated against because of their culture. Promote and celebrate reconciliation, be inclusive and understanding and aware of the past traumas and history Aboriginal people are living with day to day. Despite concerted efforts to address racism and discrimination through policies and legislation, both remain systematic issues across the health, human and community services sector. Cultural safety is a fundamental human right. Public agencies are required by legislation to provide safety in the workplace. If we do not invest the time, energy and resources required to improve cultural safety, our health, human and community services sector will not increase life expectancy and improve the quality of Aboriginal people's lives. The Cultural Safety Framework is designed to improve cultural safety for Aboriginal employees working within the Victorian health, human and community services sectors, and Aboriginal clients accessing services within the Victorian health, human and community services sector. The framework aims to assist the Department and mainstream health and community services to strengthen their cultural safety by participating in a process of continuous learning and practice improvement. The model is designed to guide the department and mainstream organisations as they develop strategies, policies, practices and workplace cultures that address unconscious bias, discrimination and racism. The Cultural Safety Framework has been informed by evidence and consultations, including a series of consultations with Aboriginal Victorians, including staff and organisations, consultation with the department's Aboriginal Strategic Governance Forum and its Koori Caucus, a series of pilots with department staff to test and validate the framework and reflective tool. Material received in response to a call for written submissions from the health, human and community services sector, a literature review on cultural safety, existing government and sector standards, policies, procedures and strategic documents. This framework does not specifically address the issue of lateral violence for Aboriginal workers, but it's acknowledged that this is a significant issue relating to their cultural safety. Addressing lateral violence requires supervisors and organisations having advanced cultural safety knowledge, skills and attitudes. Organisations may need to assist Aboriginal employees to engage specialist expertise and support to address issues of lateral violence in the workplace. The Cultural Safety Framework has 3 domains for action. Creating a culturally safe workplace and organisation. This domain focuses on changing workplaces and organisations to be culturally safe by reforming strategies, policies, procedures and accountabilities. It helps individuals and organisations build on their cultural safety through professional development, reforming governance, policies, procedures and evaluation measures. Aboriginal self-determination. This domain is closely aligned to changing workforce and organisational practice. It focuses on building our ability to hear the Aboriginal client and community voice and support the decisions of Aboriginal people, families and communities. Leadership and accountability. This domain highlights the importance of leaders being accountable for driving quality improvement to effect behavioural and systematic changes so that cultural safety becomes embedded in everyday practice. Any type of diversity always opens up horizons for any society to be more inclusive and resilient. Workplace diversity provides a number of benefits, as well as our community, including but not limited to enhancing our employees' contributions, improving the quality of our programs and services, and building a diverse workforce with a broad range of ideas and insights. My placement is with MacKillop Family Services in the residential care. Culturally safe practices that MacKillop follow is that they celebrate all events and provide an inclusive service. I've actually put the link there that I will put in the comments. They actually have a full innovative reconciliation action plan, which goes into a lot of detail about what we are doing and what we will be going on to do. And it is a very well-structured, well thought out and researched document that really does show just how hard MacKillop are trying to ensure that they are providing a culturally safe place for employees and also for clients. The video in that link provides insight on the forums and the process undertaken to develop our reconciliation action plan. A significant part of the consultations with Aboriginal communities was truth-telling, which involved community members and elders telling their stories. Truth-telling must be at the heart of reconciliation, and we were humbled by the trust and courage of those who shared their stories. At MacKillop, we are deeply committed to Aboriginal self-determination, and this commitment forms part of our strategic plan to ensure that MacKillop is a culturally safe and informed organisation. We will be collaborating with community and our sector colleagues to implement the actions in our RAP. So it's very exciting stuff, and they're already doing an amazing job in this area. More information. So the MacKillop branch that I am working with is based in Warrnambool, which is Gunditjmara land, and so there is an actual Gunditjmara Aboriginal service here in Warrnambool, which we work with in collaboration and also referrals back and forth, and they are just an absolute wealth of information and support. There's also the Framlingham Co-op community, which have a lot of the elders and everything, so we also make sure that we're linking in with elders in the local community. I've also put a link down below, which I'll also pop in the comments, of the Victorian Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Cultural Safety Framework, which is a quite lengthy document about the work that they're doing and why, and where the plans are to keep strengthening that cultural safety. So yeah, MacKillop really have built a large capacity to be culturally safe, and very proud to be part of an organisation that are really focusing and nailing this area. So that concludes the presentation for today. I hope that you learnt something new and also help create that awareness of how important cultural safety is to the local Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander community, and what we can all do to strengthen that further. Thank you for your time.